Hello everyone and welcome to Monday. And let me start today's vlog by saying, congratulations Weird Al. If you haven't seen the news, Weird Al Yankovic got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today. I mean, we knew it was coming a few weeks ago, but today he actually got the star and did a little acceptance speech. And this is a pretty big deal to me because Weird Al is a childhood hero of mine, and I've always been a really, really big fan of his music. Maybe some of you didn't know that. The ones that did probably have caught all of the Spatula City references I've put into various LPs over the years. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about what Weird Al means to me, how he has influenced my life, and then also talk about some of my favorite songs. I've got a little list that I made of ones that aren't really like the hits that everyone knows, so maybe if you're not too familiar with his discography, you'll be able to find some hidden gems today. So first things first, I discovered Weird Al in the era of Napster, which I can't remember exactly, but I believe that was middle school for me. And back in that era, there was a lot of misattribution for artists, especially, comedy artists. But thanks to the power of file sharing, I got to become a little bit more familiar with a few artists, one of which was Weird Al. And back in the day, you would download something and it might say Weird Al, and it was clearly not. But at the beginning, I didn't know that. I just was interested in finding funny music. In middle school, I was really into some comedy stuff. And slowly but surely, I started to find Al's work. And even if it was misattributed, after you've heard a few Weird Al songs, you know Al, and you know his stuff. It's interesting. It's hard to explain to a generation today because it's like, well, why didn't you go to YouTube and find out? Well, it's not that easy. That's not the way it worked back then. So you'd hear a few, and then finally you'd realize that, these were definitely not Al. This was like Adam Sandler doing a comedy routine. This was, someone else. But I learned who Al was, and I started to really appreciate his music. So much so that I went out and I bought every single album that he had. And that was actually pretty difficult. I had to go to record stores. This was back when FYE wasn't nearly completely obliterated. And I went to as many stores as I could find to slowly find his discography. And it took a while. I remember that Polka Party was the last album I got just because it was so hard to find, but I still have them all. I have every single one of his albums that he ever released on CD, and then I continued to buy them. So I'm a huge Al fan, and the reason that I appreciate his music so much is that when I was growing up, I listened to a lot of country music. And there's nothing wrong with country music, and I still have a deep appreciation for country music, but my parents really love country music. I got a little bit of classic rock from my dad, but that was about it. It really didn't extend past that for musical genres for me. And I grew up knowing every country song. If it played in the early 90s, I know every word to that country song. But I didn't really know a whole lot about other music. So having Weird Al actually helped a lot because it introduced me to so many other genres of music that I had just never heard before. I owe a lot of the vast amounts of music appreciation I have now partially to the Tony Hawk series, and then partially to Weird Al Yankovic. And I bought all of his albums. I loved his stuff. I listened to this stuff religiously. And even today, I can tell you just about all of the lyrics to the first, 25 years of his work or whatever. I'm just very, very familiar with his catalog. And the biggest downside, I think, to not having a huge background in music and then becoming very attached to Al is that these parody versions of songs more than you do the actual versions. And for some of these songs over the years, I've slowly been able to pull away the Al version, and when I hear the music, I think of the actual version. For example, Michael Jackson's Bad. But there are some songs that I've never been able to do that, and I just won't. Sorry, Lola. you're always gonna be Yoda. But I did make a list of some of my favorite Al tracks, and these are literally like my favorite ones. I like some of the more well-known stuff too, but these are the ones that whenever I went through Spotify just to look at all the lists of songs, these are the ones that stuck out to me and the ones I really enjoyed. So here are some of my favorites. I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead, which I've just always really enjoyed. I've always really enjoyed that first album in general. There's some other songs like Happy Birthday I love on that one. Midnight Star, always loved Midnight Star. Christmas at Ground Zero is fantastic. It's not as good, in my opinion, as the other Christmas song on this list, which might be the best Christmas song ever, but Christmas at Ground Zero is still extremely good. Good Old Days. If you've never heard Good Old Days, it is, I think, probably Al's like most violent song, if that makes any sense. Like, he's a pretty family-friendly artist, but that song it's very cheery, but the lyrics talk about some really dark stuff. Like, not quite Warren Zevon Excitable Boy levels, but like pretty close. Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. It's just a fun. Albuquerque is fun too, but that's the Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota is probably the one that doesn't get played often enough. Always love Trigger Happy. Frank's 2000-inch TV, one of my just favorite songs. Just I've always really loved that song. Talk Soup. Everything You Know Is Wrong. It's a fun one. And then The Night Santa Went Crazy. The Night Santa Went Crazy might be the best Christmas song ever. And honestly, maybe that's more violent than Good Old Days. But like, The Night Santa Went Crazy is fantastic. After I discovered Al and I was growing up in middle school and high school, that was like my go-to Christmas song. I love to play that, for all my friends around Christmas time. Your Horoscope for Today, always really loved. I think that's on the Running with Scissors album, and that entire album's great too. I can remember when I bought that album. God, it's so weird. I can remember buying that album and sitting in the car, and we had to stop and get gas, and it was dark, and I had my little portable CD player and like listening to this album for the first time and hearing like the Jerry Springer song for the first time. I don't know why I have all these memories, but some things don't seem to leave. One of my favorite songs of all time, Hardware Store. It's just such a good song. And I also wrote down Why Does This Always Happen to Me? Because it's just a funny song. Also, I think on that same album is the Complicated song. That one's good too. And then I also wrote down Tacky. I like Tacky as a song, but I really like the music video. And Al's just done some really incredible music videos in general. I have it's like the music video collection, like before YouTube was a thing, right? If you wanted to see all these things, you had to buy a DVD. So I have the DVD that has like his entire, well, up to that point, music video collection. I also own UHF. So yeah, those are just, some of my absolute favorite Al songs. He is an artist that has really meant a lot to me throughout the years. I continue to enjoy his songs. I think I enjoy, and this list is probably evidence of that, I think I enjoy his original stuff a little more than his parodies, actually. And I think it's because a lot of his parodies I feel like I enjoy for the novelty of them like once or twice, but I enjoy his original stuff kind of forever. So I don't mind having repeat listenings of some of this comedic stuff, even now that I'm older. And I credit him for opening my eyes and ears to the vast amounts of genres out there. At this point, I love music, and I know that I have him to thank. So again, congratulations to him for getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He has meant a whole lot in my life, and I'm glad that he has continued to do well and has all of this recognition even today. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, that's it for today. If you like Weird Al, then maybe you enjoyed me rambling about him for 10 minutes. Otherwise, maybe you left. I don't know. If you have a favorite Al song, share it below. I'd love to hear what some of your favorites are, and maybe you share some of my favorites too. I think I've mentioned it somewhere before, but I'm working on a giant Spotify playlist of all my favorite tunes, and there's going to be plenty of Al stuff on there too. So it's not ready yet, but I can't wait for it to be ready, and I can share it with everyone. So you guys can listen to what my favorite music of all time is. It's going to be fun. It's just a huge work in progress. Still working on it. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we? Oh man, I forgot headline news. God, that's a good one. Headline news is great, and the video for it's great. Okay, now I'm done. I promise.